Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first open house and info session on M.A Economics at Azim Premji University. My name is Sapna, and I'm part of the admissions team. I have with me Kate, who is a faculty member with M.A. With the economics department at the university. And she's going to talk about M.A Economics, about the program, about how to prepare for it, how to get in and answer all the questions that you may have about the program before you apply and before you join, right? So she will actually take you to the program, and we will keep the questions and answers for the second half of the session. So you can type in your questions, and we will take them up after her presentation or after her talk is over, right? So that is how we're going to do it. She's also going to play a short video to tell you about the program. Over to you, Kate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sapna, and welcome. It's a delight to be here today. I love working with our new students and do many of these sessions for both our UG and our PG program. And basically what I'm doing here today is giving you a little background and context behind how we have thought about developing our unique and very interesting curriculum at Azim Premji University. And I am very happy to take any of your questions during this session. And afterwards, if you would like to email me, you're more than welcome to email me and follow up. So my name is Kate Finoff. I'm an associate professor of economics at Azim Premji University, and I work in the fields of political economy and feminist economics. But I also have many interests about understanding real-world economic issues in India today. Firstly, I would like to just play a short video that we have that introduces some of our faculty and gives you a little context and introduction to our campus and some of the wonderful faculty that we have that are looking forward to teaching you. Sanjana, please play the video. Thanks.
Despite being labeled as the dismal science, I think economics is anything but dismal. What makes economics fascinating is that it does not give you definitive answers. The onus is on the researcher to use their intellect and their value judgment to come up with a well-reasoned and comprehensive rationalization for what we see around us.
The kind of economics which we learn here is not just bound to textbook. It engages with the real world and makes us aware of the world where we live in.
This last year of the COVID pandemic through which all of us have lived has really demonstrated how important it is to understand the economic realities. One of the things that I've been doing as a part of my own work here is looking at what were the employment effects and the income effects of the pandemic and how people managed to survive the pandemic. These kinds of real-world concerns we try to bring over into our MA curriculum as well.
We combine quantitative rigor along with qualitative insights and sensitivities around institutional structures, around the context in which people are living and experiencing daily life.
There are 2 points that I think make the M.A Economics at Azim Premji University unique for students. The first is the close interactions that students have with faculty here. The discussions in class are relaxed, and a lot of learning happens through discussion and debates in the classroom. The second point is the curriculum that connects students to ground realities and places their economics education in the context of the world around them.
So I chose this program in particular for 2 reasons. On one hand, it allows you to study your standard micro, macro, and metrics courses that you would get in any graduate program in economics. It also allows you to explore alternative fields that we now know are equally important to being a good modern economist, such as ecology, sociology, and as well the economics of identity, which are key to understanding the social and environmental context.
In the first year, we offer 9 core courses that focus on development issues that are relevant to India today. These would include inequality, issues related to environmental degradation, the crisis in agriculture, obstacles in job creation, and the historical evolution of our legal and democratic institutions.
Why are people not able to access education? Why does India still remain a country of largely informal workers? These kinds of questions we try to address in the program using economic theory and using data.
Our students also get to choose between a master's and an internship track. In the master's track, a student would choose a research topic of their choice. The idea is to pick up skills to become an independent researcher. In the internship track, our students work within organizations engaged in grassroots development and engage with the real-world challenges in implementing projects on the ground.
Also, we have a very diverse set of peers from different parts of the country, where we come to a place and have healthy conversations of different perspectives, ideologies, and values.
Broadly speaking, we will get trained in all aspects of economics, and which help us to find where our interest lies. While doing this program, I believe that I can learn economics with some social values rather than just aiming at a corporate career.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our short little video that introduced some of our lovely faculty that are looking forward to teaching you next year. I'm just going to spend a few moments sort of building off of some of the things that they mentioned in the video. And first of all, I guess I would like to say that I'm very sorry we're not able to do this information session in person. So we would love to welcome you onto our new campus that we're very proud of. And it would give you a sense of both the place, but also it would have allowed you to meet your faculty and given you an opportunity to interact with current Masters of Economics students who would love to tell you about the place and the program. But because of COVID, we're online. So I can just welcome you virtually and look forward to when you're able to visit us in person, hopefully very soon. Let me start by giving you a little bit of background and rationale into why we designed the program. So I was one of the faculty. I've been at Azim Premji University for many years now, and I've helped develop the undergraduate program in economics. And then after a few years of launching the undergraduate program, we decided to launch our master's in economics program because we felt like we could expand the skills and knowledge of our students who wanted to go on into postgraduate education. Our program, the M.A in Economics at Azim Premji University, is designed to develop the next generation of economists with the theoretical knowledge, the technical and analytical skills to be able to be interesting, well-trained, rigorously trained, but also very sensitive to the context in which you are doing economics in the Indian environment. So our program is unique in that we're grounded in the institutional, developmental, and ecological context of contemporary India and the challenges it faces going forward. It also draws upon the current expertise in development, policy, governance, and education already present at the university. We built the program. Our curriculum is designed to cover the following 5 areas. Firstly, we wanted to give students a solid understanding of the Indian economy. Oftentimes, we found that students sitting in economics classes in India are reading textbooks that are written by foreigners that are about foreign economies, which look very, very different than the Indian context. And so we wanted an Indian economics curriculum that was embedded in the Indian economy, but that would also allow you to understand the rest of the world. Our curriculum has both economic theory, but also real-world application. We develop your economic tools of analysis. But we also value the practical application of these skills to current economic and development issues. We would like all of our students by the end of our program to be able to engage in the development sector and to help be part of providing solutions for pressing developmental and ecological problems facing India currently and in the future. So these are very lofty goals, but we feel the next generation of economists should be equipped with both quantitative as well as qualitative skills to be able to do this. In terms of intended learning objectives of our program, we've broken them into two main areas. In the first area, in terms of foundational knowledge domains, we want all students to have knowledge of economic development within the Indian context. We also want you to have very solid skills of economic theory and concepts. Lastly, we want you to have knowledge of real-world institutions and actors involved in economics and the way in which economic policy impacts all of our day-to-day lives. In terms of skills, we want all of our students to be able to communicate economics to a range of audiences, whether it's working with activists in the social sector or whether it's working within government to develop public policy, or whether it's working at research institutes trying to evaluate policy initiatives. Economists have many important skills that they can contribute to this, but many economists are traditionally not trained in communicating complex economic ideas to a wide variety of audiences. So this is something we've actually built into our curriculum that we're very proud of, and our students do an amazing job at communicating effective economics to a range of audiences once they leave our program. The second main skill domain that we've built into our curriculum is problem solving and analysis. So many students of economics are unfortunately used to sitting in classrooms where they're just taking down notes and memorizing those notes to be able to give back to their professors at the end of the course, either in terms of a midterm or a final exam. Well, our courses are designed with what's called cumulative and frequent assessments. So we're assessing you all the time. We're giving you problem sets. We're building in flipped classrooms into the design of our courses. We're having students work on with real data and develop their skills along with us. So our classrooms are full of noise. They're full of interaction. You do a lot of group work, and you'll find it a very engaging place to think and also be practitioners in terms of economics. The last skill that we're very proud of our students doing, that not all economic students have opportunities to do, is actually conduct your own independent research. So many of our students are very curious about the world in which they live in, and they have very good questions, research questions that they ask. And so we have, I'll talk about this in a minute, but we have a number of different avenues for you to gain practical experience and real-world application of your economics training in our program. So our course is designed as 72 credits spread over 2 years. It's full-time and involves classes, but it also has built into the curriculum what we call field practice and practicum and internships outside of the classroom. So we've noticed that economists often get very good training in terms of quantitative and empirical skills, but they don't have often much exposure to applying those skills in the real world. So we want to expose our students to this and give them amazing opportunities to be economists out in the real world. So we have our curriculum is spread between what we call core courses, which cover some of the standard economics courses that you would see in any program, but we also have built into our core curriculum things that you wouldn't find in other economics courses. So we have a microeconomics of development course. We have a macroeconomics of development course. Both of these are doing the applied and practical aspect of what are current economic issues facing India presently, and how as economists do we actually address them. So whether you're interested in issues of education or how do we measure educational deficits or inequities in outcomes or access. And so these things are built into our curriculum, and we find that our students are really interested in these courses. And currently, Amit Basoli teaches the microeconomics of development and the macroeconomics of development, and these are very popular courses with our students in the first year. We also have a number of elective courses, and these are advancing your either your technical skills in terms of applied econometrics, or they are also sort of more traditional electives in areas that you may be interested in, whether you want to take a course in health economics or in money and banking. Or applied multivariate statistics, for example. So we offer you a number of courses, elective courses, and we also we meet with our students very often, and we get a lot of feedback from you in terms of what electives you would like to take. And so we try to offer electives that you're interested in, and you get a chance ahead of time during your first year to tell us what you're interested in, and then we do our best to offer electives that you may be interested in. So other sorts of electives you might be interested in, we have a history of economic thought, we have Indian economy, we have feminist economics, we have political economy. And so there's a range of really interesting faculty that love to teach elective courses in areas of their active research. And so we just work with you and you tell us what you're interested in, and then we try to offer the courses that you would like. We have, there's a couple more things about our courses that I'd like to mention. The first is that we have a very unique course called Communicating Economics, and this is really based on one of our programmatic goals, which is that you can clearly communicate economic ideas effectively to audiences that are both economists and also non-economists. And so we've designed a course that I've never seen anywhere else in the world that is specifically for helping developing economists work on their clear communication skills. So here you would you write blog posts, you also do infographics, you also work on podcasts, and so there's a range of really interesting assessments that you have in that course, and it's taught by a lovely faculty member of ours who has many skills in terms of communicating economics to a wide variety of audiences, and so he loves working with our students in this area. The last component of our curriculum that I just like to mention is that we have two different tracks. So during our program in the first year, you get to choose in your second semester whether you do what's called the master's thesis track or the master's internship track. And both of these tracks are very, very important in terms of developing real world skills that employers are looking for. And they also, and our students find that what they find is that it's actually difficult to choose whether they're going to do a thesis track or whether they're going to do an internship track because they like both. Let me just spend a moment explaining what both of these tracks are. So the master's thesis track is where you would like to develop your analytical depth in doing self-directed research under the mentorship of a couple of faculty members. And over the course of a year and a half in our program, you develop a master's thesis proposal, and then you have different types of master's thesis that you can do. You can work with secondary data, you can do a textual analysis, you can do an experiment or behavioral project for your master's thesis, or you could do a modeling exercise, so more theoretical. Or you could do a historical thesis. And so we have students from many different backgrounds. That's part of our strength, with many different interests. So rather like our faculty, we have wonderful faculty that come from very different areas in economics that cover both sort of standard microeconomics and macroeconomics, but we also have people who do theory. We have a lot of people who do applied, and then we have econometricians and statisticians who work on developing your skills in terms of technical expertise in economics using the most advanced and current techniques at our disposal. So our master's thesis helps develop your skills in terms of doing self-directed research. But if you don't want to do a master's thesis, you have the option of doing what we call the master's internship track. And this is a wonderful opportunity to apply your skills of being an economist outside of the classroom. And so you, in consultation with the internship coordinator, who's a lovely faculty member who works very closely with NGOs and in the social sector, and has also come out of working in government, you talk about your interests and your skills with him, and then you come up with a plan of where you would like to complete your internship project, which occurs over your summer between the first year and the second year. And here, wherever you are placed, you are working on a particular project. And once that project is completed, you come back into the classroom for your second year. And during our seminar course, you then present your results and your experiences and you write it up. So it's a wonderful experience to see how economics is done and can be useful, specifically within the social sector. So that is sort of a broad overview, a very, very quick overview of our course and credit structure. I think most of you are familiar with our website, and on our website, you'll find our program brochure for the Masters in Economics program at Azim Premji University. And I recommend that you download it and read it because it gives you sort of a clear idea of where the courses I've just been talking about sort of fit in. But I'm also very happy to answer any questions that you might have about the program. Before I open it up to the question and answer session, I just wanted to talk about two things that I think many students tend to, or prospective students, have concerns or questions about. And so if I give them in my presentation, then I have less questions to answer. So the first has to do with placements. So we have many students who love the design, the interesting design of our program and curriculum, and really want to work closely with our faculty, but they're concerned about what do they do next. So what does somebody coming out with a master's in economics do in India? Well, I'm here to tell you that it essentially opens doors. It gives you many different doors to open. So the technical skills that economists come out with from our program are really desirable for employers. And what's unique about our program is that we're not just training you in technique. We're training you in understanding the economic context of real world issues, and also how to think about policy design, how to think about policy evaluation within India and within very important sort of economic debates of our time. So you get, so we find that employers are really looking for economists that not only have the technical skills of being able to do econometrics and understand how to do good program evaluation, for example, but that they also need them to know something about the institutional context of governance, also the sociological sort of aspects of development that impact all of the program design or economic policy that you're trying to roll out. So we have many students that are curious about our placements. We have a placement cell at the university, which coordinates trying to place all of our students in areas that that aligns well in terms of their backgrounds and skills with what they're interested in doing. In the economics group, because we're a relatively new M.A in Economics program, the faculty have been working very closely with our placement cell to place each of our students, and also work closely with organizations or agencies that we have either worked with or have affiliations with. So we care deeply about placing our students in good jobs. And these jobs cover a range of different areas. So I can talk about where we've placed students. So we've placed students in government agencies. We've placed students in research institutes. We've also placed students in the social sector, and we've placed students, a few of our students have also gone into the private sector. And we have a few students that are also going on in terms of further education. So they want to go into PhD programs, and they've found that our program has prepared them for that as well. So we think of sort of our placements as opening doors, and we work with you closely to make sure that you get placed where in areas that you want to be placed in. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was, now you know something about our program, how do you apply for it? So we have an entrance test. So we have the deadline coming up for getting in your application for our program for our next round of M.A Economics students at Azim Premji University. And once the deadline passes, you will then have to sit for a test. So it's a application, it's sort of a two-step process, our application into the M.A program. You have to do a test which we've designed, and we've tried to make it as transparent as possible for new students. So we give you a multiple choice test in 4 areas. You'll get 10 questions in each area. The first area is microeconomics, the second is macroeconomics, the third is the Indian economy, and the fourth is in quantitative methods, sort of basic statistics and optimization problems. So you'll get 10 questions in each of those main areas. And what we are trying to do in the test is not trick you. What we're trying to do is actually just test your foundational knowledge in economics. So on our website, we do have a test preparation short booklet that we've prepared. So I recommend that you check that out. But you can also write to me if you have any sort of further questions that haven't been answered. Beyond the 40 multiple choice questions that you have to take for our entrance test, we also ask you to write an essay or 2. And these are short answer questions, but we're just wanting to, they tend to have something to do with a contemporary issue. And we just want to see how you think through a problem. And so you're trying to demonstrate sort of economic intuition. Again, we're not trying to trick you. We just want to get a better sense of who you are and how you're thinking about the world. So I'll stop there, and please write your questions in the chat. And I think somebody from admissions is going to read out the questions for me, and I'll answer them one by one. So I see one of the first questions in the chat is, what is the intake for M.A Economics? What's the student to teacher ratio? And could you also talk about classroom diversity? So I'm happy to take all 3 of those. We have designed our program to have a small intake of students because we work very closely and individually with each one. So our incoming, we've designed it to be about 20 to 25 students. The student teacher ratio, so we have 20 to 25 students in our master's program, and we have around 15 faculty that teach in the program. In terms of classroom diversity, it is one of our strengths. both in terms of our faculty, in terms of diversity of training and interests and background, but even more so in terms of our student body. So we are very proud that we have students from every different geographical area of India, but also from very, very different socioeconomic backgrounds. And it adds to your learning at our university, and we think we all benefit by the diversity that we have in our classrooms.
Okay, good. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, that is one question which is asked often as to what is the batch size, the cohort size, and did you talk about the diversity that we have a good mix, and actually very often we have more women than men studying with us in a lot of our courses, which is a good indication of diversity. Anyway, the next question is: can you name some companies or government agencies where the Azim Premji University alumni are working currently?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So we have one of our graduates is working for the government of Andhra Pradesh in the Center for Financial Systems and Services. We also have a couple of students working in our own research institute, the Center for Sustainable Employment, doing some very interesting research. We have a couple students who are placed in the Center for Monitoring of the Indian Economy, which is which works on measuring, collecting, and analyzing data on the Indian economy, which is very crucial because we don't have many sources of Indian data. And so CMIE does some really good work in this area, and we've been very lucky in that they've hired a couple of our economists to work for them. We have somebody at Ernst & Young. We have another alumni who's working for the Jameel Poverty Action Lab. And we have another alumni who's working for Mindshare Analytica. So you'll notice from the few placements that I've mentioned that all of our students have been hired for their skills. So it is the knowledge domain of economics and economic theory is important, but the practical application of those skills in the real world, can they be involved in collecting and analyzing data on the Indian economy, for example? Can they work on developing economic policy and evaluating it for a government agency? Can they do data analytics? So the quantitative training of economists is really important in the job market. But our students have more than just quantitative training. They have the ability to apply it to contemporary developmental and ecological issues facing India.
What is the cutoff for the entrance, and how do we prepare ourselves for the test? I mean, what do we read? What topics do we prepare ourselves for? And how much of the entrance test do we need to clear to get in? And then it follows. There's a question on the interview process. I mean, basically, they would like to know what is the interview process, what all is asked in the interview, how do they prepare? So both of them are two questions, but they are sort of one after the other.
Yeah. Okay, I'm happy to answer both of those. That means you're interested in applying. So good. So in terms of the cutoff, we don't share our cutoff for the next round. So our interview process occurs in 2 rounds. So the first is doing the entrance test, and then the second is we'll call you for a interview. Normally we would do it in person. But given the COVID situation, it may have to be online, the interview process, which is how we did it last year. In terms of preparing for the test, I recommend, so most people who are preparing for the test have done economics as an undergraduate in India. And so I recommend that you just go back over your introductory and intermediate or advanced microeconomics and macroeconomics, and your if you took a statistics course as part of your quantitative reasoning as part of your UG program, and even better if you did an econometrics course or introduction to econometrics, though it's not required. If you didn't do a UG, your undergraduate degree in economics, then I recommend you you get the core economics textbook, which is freely available online. We give a link to it in the entrance test information that is on our website. But if you can't find that, just email me or get in touch with somebody from admissions, and they can send your email on to me, and I'm happy to give you the link to it. The core economics textbook is a free online interactive textbook that we use in our undergraduate program at the university. And it is a very good foundation, introduction and foundation to economics. So for those of you that are interested in applying to our program, that haven't done an undergraduate degree in economics, I strongly recommend that you read through the core textbook, because it gives you a foundational introduction to economics and just allows you to see how we are thinking about foundational introduction to economics at our program. Also, we're very proud of the core textbook because our faculty have been the ones helping write it. Not the only ones. It's been a really nice interdisciplinary or international group of economists throughout the world who've worked on developing the core curriculum. But our faculty have been the ones that have written a South Asian version of the core textbook. And that's what we use in our undergraduate program. And so I recommend you look at it. I also recommend, for preparing for the test, that you go to our Center for Sustainable Employment, which is a research institute out of our university that's run by some economists in our group. And every year they produce a State of Working India report, which is about employment and labor conditions in India. And the reports can be a little long, so you can just read the executive summary, but that also gives you a very nice overview of some pressing sort of labor and employment issues facing India today. So it gives you good context for preparing for the entrance test. But we have more recommendations in the material that we've uploaded on our website. So I recommend that you also look at that.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, that was good. There is a question which I think you can answer or I can answer. Is it possible to do the course as a combination of physical classes and online classes? So, I mean, of course, the corona part of it is there, the COVID, and the other ways that in normal circumstances is it possible? But the COVID thing, of course, we're all following. So, over to you. You can answer this.
Thank you, Vrinda. So during non-COVID times, no, there are no online classes. So because of the value we put on the interaction between faculty and students and the low faculty to student ratio that we have, our teaching effectiveness and also the relationships that we're able to build with students really is done through in person. So we value it, and students also love it. So there are poor students that have been online for COVID, have really missed being physically on campus and being able to interact with our faculty. So during COVID, as Sapna was saying, of course, we've had to go online, but we haven't wanted to, and we will be back in person as soon as we are allowed. We're all desperate to be back in person because we all enjoy it better, and learning is also, learning outcomes and skill development is just better in person.
Yeah, just to add to it, we encourage the students to stay in hostels. Actually, although for postgraduate, the hostels are not compulsory, but the way our courses are designed, they're designed to be residential courses. So we encourage all our students to stay in the hostel so that we can continue the learning beyond the class hours. So it's not like 9 to 4 classes over, you all go back home and forget about it. So the learning continues through the day, the projects, the discussions, all of that are through the evenings and weekends, right? So you got to be present on campus to experience all of that. Um, Right. There is a question on the credit structure. Talk about the credit structure. Like you said, if somebody is asking this, they're really interested in the program. They want to know the credit structure of the M.A Economics program. Yeah.
Uh, yes. So our course is set up as a 72 credit program that's full time for 2 years. So you take, so I can sort of tell you the courses, and then I can tell you also how they're distributed over the 2 years. So there's 9 core courses. There's one field practice that's between semester 1 and semester 2, where you go out into the field for 3 weeks. You're in rural India, working with a variety of different NGOs, and you are practicing some of the qualitative methods that you've learned in your first semester in your research methods course. So economists tend to be very good at quantitative methods and quantitative tools of analysis, but very few of us, unless we've done field work, have ever figured out qualitative methods. And so many non-economists in development, in sociology, etc., are very good with qualitative methods, but we don't often get exposed to it. So at our university, we have economists that that do both quantitative methods, but also qualitative methods in their research. And so we also transfer those skills onto you as the next generation of economists. We also have 4 elective courses that you take generally in your second year. And then we have the master's thesis track or the internship track, which is 6 credits in total. And then we have a master's seminar that runs in the 3rd semester after your first year. So after you've done your internship or after you've started and got your preliminary results for your thesis project. And then we have a communicating economics course that's offered in your 4th semester. And we also have embedded in our curriculum, we've snuck in these 2 courses called creative expressions. And these are very interesting courses that don't have to do with economics, but have to do with developing your creative or tactile sort of sensibilities. And we've found that it's very useful to put these courses in the first year of a master's program, because otherwise you're only with economists and you're only in economics classes or sort of applied classes, depending upon the course that you're in with us. And so these multimodal creative expressions courses, you could be doing dance, you could be doing yoga, you could be doing theater, you could be doing singing. So we offer you a huge selection. Fabric design. There's many courses that we offer, and you just have to take 2 in your first year. But it's a lovely way to integrate into campus life, as Sapna was saying, is really important for our students. And we have a vibrant student life and student body of things, activities that go on outside of the classroom. And we want you to dive in and be part of this lovely experience outside of the classroom at our university. So those are those 2 courses. Possibly the person who was wanting to know about the credit structure wanted to know sort of when courses are offered. So we had a lot of freedom in designing our M.A Economics program. And so normally you would take economic theory courses first, and they're very boring and they're very dry. And so we decided that we would actually flip it. We would give you applied courses first, and then we would build upon those applied courses through more theoretically advanced courses later. So in your first year, you take courses like the microeconomics of development, the sociology of development, quantitative and qualitative research methods. You also take mathematical models in economics, a course called Political and Legal Institutions, and this gives you the governance framework, which really helps understand the implementation and constraints, as well as opportunities in the Indian context for doing public policy. And you also take a course called Ecology and Development in India that gives you the ecological context, as well as an introduction to issues of sustainability. And in the first year, you also take macroeconomics of development, and lastly, you take an applied econometrics course, which is econometrics of impact evaluation. So you get a review and coverage of econometrics in your first research methods course in your first semester, and then we build upon that in terms of econometrics of impact evaluation in your second semester. And then most of the courses in the third and fourth year are electives. One of the required courses in the third semester, I should highlight because I think it's one of the best courses in our program. It's called the Economics of Identity. And this is really how do we as economists understand power and group-based stratification. So in every area in which economics is done in India, the questions that are addressed in this course arise. Also in terms of understanding any sort of impact of economic policy, it will have differences based on which group identity or overlapping group identities that you have. So it's a very important course for economists to do, and also understand how do we, or be exposed to how do economists think about and integrate into both their theoretical and then their applied work, things like power, things like institutions, collective identities, collective action, etc. So it's a very interesting course taught by a lovely faculty member of ours.
Okay, Kate, so just a follow-up question on that. That a student is asked that econometrics in undergrad is not compulsory, but then how quant is your course? What are the requirements of, how quant do we need to be to do M.A Economics at University?
Yeah. So thanks, Sapna, for this question. So it's a good question to ask. So either we get asked by people who do not like math so much, oh, is there a lot of math in your program? How much math do I need? Do I need to know advanced econometrics to be able to survive your program? Or we get asked, it doesn't look like you're rigorous enough in your econometrics. I really want to have multivariate, statistics. I want advanced linear algebra. I want applied econometrics, etc. Are those going to be offered to me for electives? So my answer is a little bit like any economist answers any question, which is it sort of depends. So we want all of our students to be comfortable in quantitative methods because it's such a valuable skill and resource that so many people working in the development sector don't actually have good quantitative backgrounds. And so it's something that we can bring to the table as economists. But with that said, we don't lead with method. So we're not requiring you to have done econometrics in your undergraduate program, though it does help, but it's not required. What we do is we go back and we go to the basics. And so Deepthi Goel is our applied econometrician who also does really interesting work in applied micro development questions in India. And she often teaches the quantitative and qualitative research methods course. And what she does is she just starts from the beginning and she teaches econometrics and she teaches UR, a statistical program to be able to work in. And she doesn't assume that you know advanced econometrics and she doesn't assume that you've ever used R before. So she starts from the beginning. So for those of you that have done econometrics, it's a review. But for those of you that haven't done it, we bring you to where we want you to be. And we have students of different backgrounds. We have very, technically oriented students who want to know the most advanced, up-to-date, applied econometric tools, that really want to be working with our applied statisticians in our group. And then we also have economics students who really want to do qualitative work, who are not afraid of developing their skills in terms of quantitative rigor and analysis, but their love is actually interacting with people and being out in the field asking interesting questions. And so we have a program that's really unique in that it allows us to work with both types of students. So don't be worried if you don't feel comfortable in math and you don't feel like you've done enough econometrics, because we'll work with you to bring you to where we think you need to have a foundational level of comfort. But if you don't want to use those techniques or skills, we won't force you to. So we're a very unique program in that we also have faculty from very different backgrounds that have very different comfort levels using different types of research. And so we think of economics really as and promote economics in this what's called more pluralistic way.
Thank you, Kate. That was good. Yeah, I know quant gives the jitters to some, it doesn't to some others. So it depends. There is a very specific question. Is there a possibility of transferring to Azim Premji University from another college? If yes, what's the process? So this is like like an operations question. If you want, I can answer.
Yes, no, that would be helpful. Thank you.
The basic. So actually, at the moment, no, because like you've seen in MA Economics, our course is very uniquely structured. So if we transfer you in the middle of the term from another college, we will have to do credit matching and have to make sure that you've covered all the topics that are covered by the students here. So unless we have like the same course in the other university, exactly the same pattern of credits and exactly the same pattern and the order of courses which are offered, it will be very difficult to transfer, right? Because just to bring you up to speed on what has been covered and and to take into account what you've covered there, it will be very difficult. At the moment, we don't have a process. However, if we get a lot of requests in the future, etc., we will have to then identify which universities offer courses which are similar to ours, and then we can maybe do a transfer midterm. But otherwise, no, right? At the moment, I mean, you have to start here, and that will give you the complete learning experience. The other one, Kate, you can take because you will have to organize this. Can you plan an interactive session with the students as well as alumni sometime?
Yes. Well, thanks, Sabna, for answering the question about transferring. For the student who's interested in transferring, I will let you know that we've had a couple students who have they were enrolled in another master's program and they weren't happy with that master's program. And so they ended up applying for our program and just starting and doing another 2 years with us. And they were very happy and they got placed in really good jobs and they're doing lovely things in the world and we're very proud of them. So it is an option to sort of, spend another year, but be in a course that really aligns with your interests and that also allows you to do what you want to do in the world going forward. I'm also happy if you want to email me sort of separately afterwards, you can, I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions. The second question was, can we have an interactive session with students as well as alumni? Yes, we'd be happy to do that. So we had actually designed an open house in person in January that we were just around actually today's date that we were wanting to bring everybody to campus for. And there were alumni and current students that were going to help us launch that open house. But unfortunately, because of COVID, we've had to initially sort of postpone it, hoping we'll be able to do it maybe in February before the deadline for applications. But if that's not possible, we can do something online where you can also meet other faculty besides me. So I'm very happy to meet you, though I can't see anybody, but I can read your questions at least. but maybe we can do a Zoom session, an interactive Zoom session for interested applicants.
Sure. So we'll do that. Just to everybody who's listening in, yes, we are planning on a session, and we'll try and make it interactive. So if you do it on Zoom, then you'll get a chance to come up on screen and ask your questions. And if possible, we'll do it on campus. If everything magically goes away, if the entire COVID thing goes away, then we'll do it. Okay. The other one is there any international exchange program that we have at the university?
So we don't presently have a memorandum of understanding with an international university to do an exchange. Though many of us have worked closely with faculty in departments all over the world, and so we have had students actually go and work with, depending upon their background and interests, work with a few faculty. In different places, and if this is something that you're interested in, it's not integrated into our program design, but you can certainly talk to us and work with us. And we have we've also placed students in other programs, sort of continuing on in education in various places. So we're happy to also give you access to them, and they can help you figure out the process if you're interested in going on in economics.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. We will soon have those, but at the moment we just use our connects. So actually this connects to the next question, which is about the faculty profiles. So somebody wants to know, can we just talk briefly about the faculty profiles that we have? And I guess this is for M.A Economics alone today. So do you want to touch upon that in terms of, and that leads to the international connection, because a lot of our faculty, including Kate, have their PhDs from universities abroad. And so they're always connected in a network with universities abroad, and so internships and opportunities in those universities is not a problem. But I'll let Kate do the specifics on the faculty profiles. Two, three of them. We don't have to go through the entire list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, we have a lot of faculty in the economics group. Some who are trained as applied statisticians, and but most who come out of economics. But some are. One person is has a PhD in interdisciplinary development studies. Works quite closely with our students who go out into the field, and also coordinates our internship program. Our economics faculty have PhDs from all over the world, from University of Cambridge in the UK to universities in the United States, to also Australian universities, and also excellent PhDs from Indian universities. So we have a range. We have I think interesting about our economics group is that we have faculty that cover almost every sub-discipline in economics, as well as different schools of thought. So, which is unusual in economics programs. Which is also why embedded into our program is exposure to different schools of thought. So you get neoclassical economics, but you also get exposure to political economy and other traditions in economics, which often aren't as well known. But we want our students to have a context in understanding the way in which economic ideas have been asked. Often the same questions have been asked from the beginning of the development of our field, but have been answered very differently depending upon which school of thought and the sort of training that you've had in economics. So we want our students exposed to it. We have faculty who work within the tradition of history of thought. So this is giving you historical context to understanding the evolution of ideas in economics. But we also have economic historians. We have macroeconomists, we have microeconomists, we have applied microeconomists, we have applied macro. We have those like myself who work in the tradition of political economy and feminist economics. We have I think that sort of covers, we have people who work in money and banking, people who work in financial economics and trade. We have people who work on the Indian economy and specifically the political economy of the Indian economy. So we have people who work on economics of education, and also people who have sub areas in terms of public health and the economics of health. Um, we have a sociologist who teaches you the sociology of development course, which is part of your curriculum. So we have a really interesting group of faculty who are lovely. And one thing that aligns our faculty is that we all really care deeply about our students. So we're at Azim Premji University because we really want to know our students. We want our classes to be small, and we want to be able to support students and have also the wonderful diversity of India in the real world reflected in our classroom. So we're all looking forward to seeing you in the classroom next year, and you'll get to know us over the course of our program, and we also are lucky in that we get to know you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that was a nice sort of final question and a nice rounding up of the thing. So thank you everybody for joining in, and I hope this session was useful. The recording will be available for all those of you who joined in late and your friends who couldn't join in. We will be doing these sessions more often over the next month and a half. Just a couple of points. The applications are on currently. So all those who are in the process of applying, have completed half the applications, etc., etc. Please go ahead and complete them. They will be on through February. So you do have time, but I would suggest don't leave it till the last minute. The test will be somewhere in March, right? And if you have problems completing the applications, etc., do write to us, and we will help you with that, right? And stay tuned for more sessions like this, including the interactive one with the alumni and the current students. Thank you all. Thanks, Kate, for a wonderful session.
Thank you.